Before cities existed, human beings began to cluster together. In the earliest phases of the Neolithic period, hunter-gatherers transitioned to a sedentary lifestyle, settling down and forming massive, dense communities. Look at this architectural plan of Çatalhöyük from roughly 7400 BC. You see a dense fabric of rectangular houses packed tightly together, but no streets or central grid. This layout represents the ceiling of informal human organization. To grow beyond these early villages, humanity had to confront a geographic crisis. Down in the alluvial plains of Mesopotamia, the soil was incredibly fertile, but the environment was volatile, swinging between brutal river flooding and scorching, arid droughts. A small, informal tribe could not survive this landscape. Extracting food from this region required physical terraforming. They dug extensive canal networks to drain stormwaters and built heavy mud brick platforms to keep the floods out. The sheer hostility of the Mesopotamian environment presented a clear ultimatum. People had to invent a new method of mass cooperation to manage the land, or they would disappear. Digging and maintaining canal networks demanded millions of hours of manual labor. It required a scale of human coordination never before seen. To centralize and direct that labor, between 4500 and 3000 BC, humans engineered a new social artifact, the city. Settlements like Eridu and Uruk emerged as centralized hubs designed to pool resources and manpower. This map details the 6 specific areas where this transition occurred globally. Mesopotamia acted as the prime incubator for this urban revolution. But packing tens of thousands of people into a single location created an immediate logistical nightmare. Without a system to govern them, a population this size risks immediate collapse into factional violence. While the city addressed environmental survival, it generated a massive internal crisis. Managing a population of this scale required the development of institutional governance. The first mechanism of control was ideology, anchored physically in the center of the city. This is the Great Ziggurat of Ur. Massive, tiered structures like this served as the administrative and religious core of the community. The Sumerians developed a theology suited for mass mobilization. They believed that humans were created from clay for one specific purpose, to serve and labor for the gods, like the wind god Enlil and the water god Enki. This belief system functioned as an effective economic tool. The temple became the central hub where citizens paid their taxes. They owed a labor duty to the temple, digging canals and harvesting grain to keep the cosmic order intact. Managing an operation of this scale eventually became too taxing for the high priests alone. This figure represents the solution, the transition to a secular leader known as the Lugal, or big man, the priest king. The Lugal sat at the top of the social ladder. He oversaw the cultivation of the land, managed the distribution of resources, and acted as the earthly enforcer of the god's will. For the Sumerians, religion operated as the psychological and economic engine required to keep the city functioning. Even with a compliant workforce, the temple faced a logistical nightmare. Administrators had to collect massive yields of barley, measure vast tracts of agricultural land, and divide rations among thousands of dependents. Standard finger counting, our base 10 system, is inefficient for this type of work. If you try to divide a bulk quantity evenly into thirds, quarters, or sixths, base 10 leaves you with messy fractions. The Sumerians solved this by inventing the sexagesimal, or base 60, numerical system. As this diagram shows, the number 60 is perfectly divisible by a wide range of whole numbers: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, and 30. This flexibility allowed scribes to divide bulk goods into perfectly equal shares. Advanced mathematics emerged not from abstract philosophy, but from the practical necessity of feeding a massive workforce and maintaining the state. As the urban state expanded, administrators hit a hard limit on data storage. Human memory simply cannot hold the thousands of receipts, debts, and inventory counts required to run long-distance trade and taxation. The earliest accounting solution was physical. Administrators used small, three-dimensional clay tokens, shaped to represent specific units of goods like sheep or grain. Look at the circular marks on this tablet. Instead of keeping loose tokens, administrators pressed those three-dimensional shapes directly into wet clay, creating flat, storable ledgers. Over time, these were replaced by the sharp, wedge-shaped phonetic signs you see here, cuneiform. The world's first writing system was engineered as an external storage system to secure the data of the empire. Once writing and mathematics solved the basic problems of survival, they were applied to culture. Scribes began to codify laws, compose religious hymns, and record literature like the Epic of Gilgamesh. That same mathematical and organizational mastery allowed for major structural leaps. Notice the load-bearing arch doorways surviving in these ruins. The Sumerians developed the arch, pushing mud brick construction to new heights. The logistical tools designed to manage water, mud, and grain eventually became the building blocks of high civilization. The mud brick walls of Uruk and have largely eroded back into the ponds, but the invisible systems of order built within them survived. The Sumerian base 60 system is still active today. It is exactly why we divide our minutes into 60 seconds, our hours into 60 minutes, and our circles into 360 degrees. Every time we check a clock, navigate using a compass, or sign a written contract, we are operating inside the societal blueprint drafted by the Sumerians over 5,000 years ago.